Welcome to the Board of Library Trustees meeting Monday, May 20th, 2024. I now call this meeting to order. Time 7:01. Recently, regional and local elected and appointed bodies have been subjected to disruptive, racist verbal attacks by anonymous callers during virtual public comments. The City of Mountain View is fully committed to racial, religious, and cultural equity and justice as we strive to create a welcoming, safe, and inclusive community for all. This advisory body commission welcomes respectful and non-threatening public comments regarding matters over which the advisory body commission has jurisdiction. Comments deemed otherwise pursuant to the Council Code of Conduct and the Government Code may be grounds for immediately terminating a speaker's comment period. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Now I'll ask the library director to proceed with roll call.
Chair Eric Neerlich, who is not here at this moment. Vice Chair Kristen Higaki.
Present.
Board Member Kuldeep Ambasta.
Present.
Board Member Sharon Sue.
Present.
And Board Member Nicole Vogt here.
Minutes approval. So minutes for the April 15th, 2024 meeting have been delivered to board members. If there are no corrections or additions, motion is in order to approve these minutes. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on an item on the minutes approval? If so, please click the raise button hand in Zoom or press #9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Okay.
Would you like me to motion to approve the minutes?
Yes, please.
Second.
I'll second that. Did you actually make the motion?
Yes, oh, sorry, motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that too.
Vice Chair Kristen Higaki. Member Kuldeep Ambasta.
Yes.
Board Member Sharon Sue.
Yes.
Board Member Nicole Vogt.
Communication. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during the section. If there appears to be a large number of speakers, speaking time may be reduced to no less than 1.5 minutes. State law prohibits the board from acting on non-agenda items. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on non-agenda items? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press #9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen.
We do have one.
Hi, I just had a quick question. Do you guys keep the Zoom meetings recorded or not? I just wanted to know that. That's all. Thank you.
Yes. We do.
You want to say where the person can access it?
I think there's links on our website, right?
It's on mountainview.gov/legistar. Most of the Zoom recordings are on there unless there's technical difficulties and we wouldn't be able to provide the recording. But otherwise, they should all be posted there.
Okay, thank you so much.
It might be worth mentioning, there's a bit of a delay before they appear on the site. So if you checked previously, you might check again.
Sure.
Thank you for covering.
I apologize, everybody.
Pass the.
Pass the gavel.
I don't need that. Section 5, there are no donations. Section 6, the library programming presentation. And over to you.
Right, I will introduce, you all have met our library managers, Ann Collins and Tari Ryan. And some of you have met our senior librarian Renee T, and they're going to present on library programming.
We can start. You have the memo. So would it be appropriate to read the memo? See,
I accepted that, but I
would you
don't.
like us to read the memo?
We read, I assume we all read it at home and
Yeah.
be most interested in your thoughts.
Yeah, maybe if you could just start with kind of key points summary.
Okay, I think, overall, though, first I do want to, before I forget, I do want to acknowledge that the Friends of the Library are supportive of us in a financial way so that we can run our programs, especially outside performers and supplies that we use for our programs. So that's the first piece. For in youth encompasses both youth and bookmobile. This summer, we're with the launch of the new bookmobile. Renee's going to explain a little bit more about the launch and what we've been doing off the bookmobile. We are going to be hosting Steam Park in the Steam Fridays in the park now as well. So Steam Fridays was introduced last year. And it's a drop-in program where we have stations for children, and it's an all-afternoon activity that they can go in and out of and explore STEAM theme-based content. Thank you. And so we're going to be having many ones in the park this year when the bookmobile goes contiguous with the bookmobile stops. So that's going to be a new introduction and new for us to be bringing programming directly out into the community. So we're excited about that. So one of the reasons we picked STEAM is that STEAM is something that the families here ask us a lot for. We have had in the past some focus on trying to do a little bit more in early literacy, some STEAM-based things in early literacy. But last year decided to focus our summer on more learning activities for the children. And because of the popularity and the surveys we receive back and the comments we receive back, we're going to continue and be expanding the program. So that's something that's upcoming. One of the core things that libraries do throughout the country is early literacy. We do have a very popular story time that happens on Tuesday mornings. We do have bilingual story times, Chinese right now by Renee, and some bilingual story times in many story times in the parks with the bookmobile. So that's in Spanish and English. So those are happening. The early literacy piece we found, especially with the bookmobile, and Renee will be able to expand on that more, is that there wasn't a core understanding of the programs and services of the library we found off the bookmobile are something that people understand is for them, that's free, that's run. So as much as we feel like those are the core things of what the library is doing, it's been very enlightening to understand that there's still a large segment, or I won't say large, but there's still a segment of our population in the community that doesn't understand that library services are free and that we have these activities for the youth. So from early literacy, we also have a baby story time, and we've also started sensory story times 2 years ago. We're trying now sensory story times in the evening. We do try to meet because we have because Sundays are very difficult for us to run programs because we're shorter staffed and we have shorter hours. And Saturday we have a full house too, which often means we also have to have a lot of people on desk working, and we've had limited staffing. We do want to expand Saturdays. We're trying also the evenings to get different families and segments in, and that does seem to be working and resonating with some families. So we're going to be continuing that in the summer and through the fall. But we introduced sensory story times now in the evening, and we found those to be as popular with a different set of families coming. So it's so the message is getting out there. So the sensory story times, for those who aren't familiar, are for children who have any type of sensory need. Typically, it's children identified as being on the autistic spectrum, but it could be any other need that's being, that a family feels that a smaller, more intimate setting and in a certain way that they run the story times may be helpful for them. So from the sensory story times, specialized story times, then we also are branching out. We have early elementary and then mid-grade programming. And then we trying for teens. Teen is, will admit a larger, harder segment. But I do want to talk about the library as being a space that is offering, because of the space itself and with the expansion of the Student Connect card, we are seeing more engagement with the library space itself. So maybe they're not engaging in the type of programs where they're deciding, okay, I'm going to come to the library between 4 and 5 or something and do this particular activity. We see a lot of tutoring happening, a lot of families coming and staying the evenings, parents and their teens together. We see teens meeting up in using the study rooms, meeting in the teen zone area, seeking quiet spaces for their continuing study and using the reference resources in the children's room. So even though maybe we're not hitting maybe the more social or kind of like craft kind of component or like that other piece with programming, we are seeing a broader segment of teens coming. So that's particularly encouraging.
There was another, can't remember the term, the committee of Mountain View of like, that was like teen led. I'm wondering if you guys have,
Advisory.
yeah, the advisory committee, have you consulted with them? Because at one of the volunteer events last year, like they had a lot of energy and a lot of ideas.
Yeah, we do on occasion. We have reached out and we've sometimes partnered with them,
Okay.
actually going to the teen center.
Mhm.
But again, we've heard like kind of what they want to do, but the follow-up sometimes doesn't happen. But we could definitely reach out again. You know, we are in contact with them. We try to supplement what they're not doing at the teen center for the library, not to mimic exactly
Yeah.
what they're doing. So, but yeah, and we also have that with some other like teen-led organizations
Mhm.
throughout the community too. We do hear from them on occasion. The students from St. Francis reached out to us. On occasion, we've done some things, CHAC, Teen Advisory, we've done some things with them before. So, yeah.
Just had more of a technical question. How do you define baby, youth slash teen? You know, just the age ranges. I'm assuming baby is like 0 to 1. I'm assuming teen is maybe 13 to 7, 13 to 18. Youth maybe, you know, anywhere from baby to 18.
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we say youth right now, for the division, we're kind of 0 to, so infant, to 18. So somebody who's, you know, to young adult, basically. For when we're talking about our story times, we do say 0 to 18. And then we're kind of looking at the family story time or our general story time. We get anyone 0 to, you know, 4 or 5 years old. And then sensory story time the same. Early, then we kind of break it up between early elementary and then an older or later elementary and older. And then teen, we go by what the teen center uses, and it's 12, starting at 12. They're looking at 6th graders. So they start at middle school, defining teen and middle school.
And ending with 18.
And around 18, yeah. There's kind of a fall off there and more interest in adult programming at that point.
Sure.
So they're self-selecting, yes.
I saw in the thing that you partner with schools, is it? I kind of wanted to hear more on what kind of programs you do in partnership with.
Well, most of our programs with the schools are either around the summer reading program and promotion and talking about the summer reading program. The other thing that we do is we work with the AVID and PEAK programs. We're often called in to support those students. So that's a lot of virtual work that the librarians do, where they're presenting basic things on how to use the resources with the library research, you know, reference staff could support them with what librarianship is, career things. We've done and supported them with resume workshops, those sorts of things. So that's the things we've done in the schools.
Field trips.
Pardon me?
Field trips.
And field trips, yeah. And then we also do field trips. Thank you. Do field trips.
Are there a lot of, or are there things that you're going to do differently because of, you know, the feedback or lack of attendance or whatever that you've seen in this past year?
In terms of the In terms of the teen,
Well, I am curious about the teens because I have a teen, but also just in general, you know, like, have you seen or had ideas on ways that you'd want to pivot that you think would be, you know, more beneficial for?
well, some of the things we pivoted on is trying to be, trying our time frames to be different. So that's been impactful. For example, we pivoted parenting programs to be like noon time at lunchtime. So, and we've seen more traction with that to be virtual. And, so those are time frames are some of the things that we're pivoting. Some of the things we're pivoting is trying to make things less locked into a certain time frame that you have to show up and have more drop-in programs. So you'll see a lot more drop-in. So we're designing programs that are more that you know, there's still a library in there, but it doesn't feel like a class. You can kind of interact with the materials on their own or keep things out. So in the teen zone particularly, we've been doing that as well, having things out for a day, 2 days that the students could come, the teens could come and be with, but it doesn't require necessarily them like being in a kind of an official event. So we've been doing that. We're introducing more family style gaming programs so that families of different ages can come and be present with each other. So that's part of the feedback we've heard from parents is it's hard to have something going for a young child and then an older child feels left out or vice versa. So we're trying to do some things that feel more family inclusive and all ages, working with Anne's division to think about things being all ages. So those are some of the things that we're doing.
So you mentioned things for people who may have, say, autism or other conditions. And this may be a moot point if, you know, it's just for any condition at all, but is there any need perhaps to do sessions that are more focused on one health need at a time or just in general, like fill the room just with everybody in one session? It's fine.
So I can speak to that. I know it, I know what you mean. I think so a lot of what we try to do is make sure that the programs are already feeling and have that inclusivity already. Regarding sensory story times, that's something that's very specific in library, in like the larger national library community that requires specific type of training and a different way that the story time is run. So staff need training and ability to be able to run those. So that's specific to that. So, but part of the idea, I would say overall in programming is try to make sure that the space or the way that we're running the programs doesn't target always or exactly one particular set of needs so that it's welcome. And we've designed things so that everybody has a opportunity and a space to be there and be together. So,
Right.
so part of that is, not that we couldn't do that on occasion, but I think that we're trying to work toward more of a sense of that
Inclusion.
Yeah.
And people feel welcome.
Right.
And that's feedback we've gotten that people have felt that that's a good setup.
Regarding the sensory story time?
Yes, our audience. For a sensory story time.
Oh, for the sensory story time, yes. I think for the sensory story time, because our story times are so large and take place outside, that the smaller group supports families feeling like that the environment is conducive. That's part of the issues around the smaller children who have this developmental need. We dim the lights. We have a different set of progression that we move through the story time that helps parents anticipate things. We also want parents who maybe have who children are maybe starting out the school community who need specialized or individualized education plans and things like that. They're also forming and meeting themselves, so they're a resource for one another. So in this particular instance, yes, indeed. And we're not offering it every week. It's once a month or every other week, so that there also know and there's availability. They're not singled out in a way that they're not coming to other programs or things, but this is just serving a need. So
Good.
So, I want to conclude, I think, because I'm going to pass it on to Anne. One of the other things, Kristen, to, support what you had talked about is we're really trying to have more, teen to adult programming and all ages programming. So you'll see more of that as Anne and I work together to establish, opportunities for that. So summer reading launch, last year we did that, and this year again, we're having all ages events. So more of that coming, so. Yeah,
Thank you. Welcome. And then for adult programming at the library, it's a wonderful way to bring people into the library for reasons other than our materials. It's also, we feel, a great way to strengthen our community because we're a place where people can come and it's free. It's open to everybody. For reasons of lifelong learning and also just to have fun. So we've recently just gone through tax season. One of the ways that we help our community is by partnering with local entities, and in this case, the people you can come in and get advice about your taxes. We also have workshops, lots of things going on for people to learn and to grow. And then on the other end, we have the fun things like the ukulele night and author talks, concerts. We when we're planning our adult programming, and we plan our programs very much in advance, up to about 6 months in advance. But when we're planning our programs, we always keep in mind that we have our library mission values: connect, create, and learn. And then we have our strategic priorities from the city. So we're just mindful that we want to make sure that we have an abundance of programming that matches those things. And then I did want to draw your attention to, because this was something that was brought up at the last meeting, that we do have, when we're very careful about the programs that we book, the presenters that we book. There is kind of a library circuit in a way, that there are many presenters who present at different libraries, but we are actually very careful in vetting the presenters that we have for the public, the things that we do for the public. And we in the forms that must be signed before anything goes through, we have one called a City of Mountain View Release of Liability and Indemnity Agreement. And then we also, if we have something going on Zoom, we'll give them the Zoom acceptable use policy, the library behavior policy always, and then virtual programs, guidelines for presenters and participants. So in ending, we just pride ourselves on having the best possible programming for this community. We really want to strengthen our community through the lifelong learning, through things they can learn at the library, everything from local history to childcare. But we also want people to have fun at the library and see it as a place not just where you can get materials, but a place where you can come. And as Tari said, we'll be doing a lot more with as family events with both adults and kids, but just a place that you can come with your family and have a nice Saturday afternoon. We do some lovely concerts in the park now that we're all looking forward to summer reading, because we do a lot of joint things then. And it's so much fun for us to see people out there with their blankets on the grass, enjoying themselves, and knowing that our staff have really done a great job, and they do a great job in putting all this together. If you have any questions, that's all I've got.
I have a very detailed question about Zoom. You might already know this, but in my other volunteer work, we found that to make sure that it's a secure environment, things are typically run in a webinar format where there's a moderator who takes the Q&A and manages that process. And there's another format where it's less secure, where anybody can speak, etc. and eat the bad things. So I'm assuming you use the webinar format.
We do. We have one of our program librarians, Kyle, runs those author talks. He really is excellent. He gets a lot of compliments after each of his author talks. I mean, people write in and say how good he is. So, we're very proud of that as he does that.
Excellent, good to hear.
I've been one of those people who have written.
He really is good.
He facilitates the author talks really well. And
Yeah.
And I know that there's a lot of research involved.
He does. He's great. He does a lot of research and he is good at it.
One question I had was, with books being banned, have there been any issues with library programming and
People
people
complaining.
complaining, I suppose, about the decision to choose certain presenters, or to,
Not to my knowledge now. I'm fairly new here. I'll be 6 months here at the end of the month. Do you want to take that, Tracy? Do you know?
Sure. And funny you mentioned that because on agenda setting, it's going to be one of our presentations in the upcoming
Oh.
fiscal year because it's a hot topic nationwide, book challenges, book banning and so forth. But yeah, we have them from time to time and we have a whole policy we go through, and we'll explain that when we go into more detail. But so far, yeah, we've had, as you saw from our January meeting in our, when we do survey the community, it's about 96% is, above the highest rating for our program. So the staff do a lot of due diligence on finding quality programs, quality speakers, to make sure they're the most knowledgeable people that talk on a topic and so forth.
glad to hear it. I think the news will sometimes talk about how in commencement addresses can be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What's different with our library, I will say, because our library, our program, we have a community center. So for people who want to do a program, they want to rent out a space. We don't have that ability here just because we just have 2 rooms and we have a lot of programs we do. So we don't rent out space. The community centers was built for that. So, but other cities and jurisdictions that might not have a separate community center where the library is the only building to rent a room for whatever space. So they might rent a room to have a program and then the public thinks it's a library program. And so sometimes there's that misinterpretation, well, that a group might advertise a certain topic or subject that's at the library. And what I've, from some public directors who it's not the library program, but it's in the library. So everyone thinks it's a library program. So there's been that kind of misinterpretation. So we're lucky we don't have that. It's a lot of work to rent out space.
Just hypothetically, if there was significant opposition to one despite the processes we have, does the final decision go to a committee or a court style process or anything like that?
For a book.
Say yes, if the normal process was gone through, but then for some reason, the general public still had a problem with this content, what would the next step be?
Well, as far as our process in the library, and it's in our collection policy that it's the library up to the library department. Anyone could go as far as they would like to, if they were still unhappy with it. If somebody or a group, they could go to whoever would hear them.
They could have a dialogue, but the final decision is up to the department.
Correct.
Okay.
As of now.
How many such requests do you see per year? How many such requests does the library receive per year?
Challenge requests? Gosh, we probably, in the 6 years I've been here, we've had maybe 2 or 3 is all. Not that many here. But other states and areas and other cities have had, if you've heard the news, it is out there. So we thought, yeah, we'll put together a presentation for you because it has increased. And there's some jurisdictions that are trying to have legislation in both directions, protections. who has the authority, the school districts. If you've heard, some of the schools are kind of having those challenges for both sides as well, not just up with libraries. I think that in the schools, they're having more discussions on that.
And if you were to summarize the requests you've gotten, is it more concerns about violence or explicit content or something else?
Yeah, that's probably,
Those two categories.
yeah.
Would there, are there opportunities for members of the public to suggest program ideas? The reason I thought of it is there's a Mountain View Moms post where people were sharing with among moms that you could suggest a purchase to the library, and a number of people did not know that. So then someone put in the thread an entire way like where to click. And so I thought, oh, you know, what about for possible programming?
They do actually, they can submit, they through contact us, they can submit program idea and then we send them a program form to fill out. And we do look for references or past experience on when they're suggesting. Sometimes, mostly we're hearing from people who want to present, not just that they want to see this program, because they'll want to see the program. Usually it's someone who's come to the reference desk or they filled out a survey and they've requested further, at least in youth. So does that answer the question?
I think so. So I guess I thought, oh, there are people who would want to present, and then maybe people who enjoyed a program so much, they'd like to see it again. But that would probably just be filling out the survey.
Right. Well,
Would
and
they
in
do
fact,
that?
yeah, that's why, I mean, some of our lineup this summer will look maybe like it did last summer, but Perry Ann and Happy Birds were so well received and people were requesting all year, can you have them back? Can you have them back? So they're back this summer based on that. So so it's two-pronged.
And then at the end of every program, we get we get emailed a form telling us how many people had signed up for the program and how many people showed up. We look at that because people vote with their feet. So if that was well attended, we want to do more of that so that we'll get more people to come. Traditionally, for the programs that a lot of people come to, we'll try and do a series like the Master Gardener programs. They're always so well attended, or our crafting programs. So we always have a series and have one of those programs that will.
Follow up on that, just because I was gonna ask something similar, like, how do you decide, you have limited budget? How do you decide what programs to do, like, when you get all these new ideas, both from the public and from your own staff, I'm sure. How do you, yeah, what's your kind of criteria for saying, we're gonna do these sort of programs, not these? Or like, when you do a program, how do you decide, if you get a lot of people attending, great, that's easy, but if it's like a few people attend, because I've seen a couple of reports, like 5 people attend or 8 people attend, like, what's the, yeah, how do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it's like, well, not one trajectory with it. Sometimes it's like, let's table it till staff are able to do it, because sometimes it's a matter of staff training or, just, do we have staff capacity to do it? Sometimes it's just, maybe we're not sure, it might be too like cost impact for how many people we think will attend. Like, is there going to be return on investment for this? So sometimes, a presenter can be up to $500, $600, right? So as an example, so if I'm only going to get 10 people or 12 people, I might like, this sounds great, but I'm not gonna, we're probably not gonna be able to go there for that. So there's the return on investment. There's, just like, is the timing right? Does it feel like there's, the sense of timing is right? Those are some basic key things, some other.
Fine, the basics are fine.
Yeah,
It's just-
okay, yeah. So
Just
it's
curious,
something that,
the
like, we
general
do,
vibe, how you think
yeah.
about it.
And sometimes it's just like, sometimes we table things. So we might have an idea and we're like, you know, okay, it might take us a year to get there, you know, sometimes it requires certain vetting, people aren't there, like when we brought in the reading puppies, the pals from the Palo Alto Humane Society, you know, it took us, you know, a good 6, 8 months almost to get that program launched and going. So sometimes it's like the time frame involved, but on the flip side, sometimes we realize something's popular, we can do it in-house, and we give it a try, and then we try it again, and then it's like, wait, I think people just wanted it just like a little bit. We thought they wanted it a lot, you know? Or
Yeah.
sometimes we feel like, okay, let's try it and let's kind of see it through. And even though we're getting a smaller crowd, it might be meaningful to the people who are continuing to come. And so then because of that too, we might keep something that maybe is not getting that huge numbers, but we're getting something that's something we know the community, there's particular passion for. So we kind of take that. And so I think what's great about working for the city and being a part of a city department is we're pretty flexible. We can kind of retool and regroup and kind of do something pretty quickly, and then also backtrack if we realized kind of a mistake, or rethink what's going to be like, was it really the program, or was it our time frame, or was it how, you know, the day that we picked, you know, because that's also too can be really difficult to try to sort out, you know. Then we realize, oh really, this might have been like a more Saturday morning program when we picked Wednesday evening or afternoon, and that didn't sort out. We do try to plan, at least in youth, around the school schedules, and we've planned programs and trying to be more active this year to say, okay, this is a school break, let's plan things around school break. So this is an example where we thought that there was a need, because we were hearing from people, what are you doing during school break? Then we did programs for school break, and we didn't see the numbers that we would have normally. So then it's kind of like, okay, maybe winter break's important, but not spring break, you know? So then you kind of look at the data again and take some risks. So we are, you know, kind of always honing and pivoting. I don't think that there's one way, but all of those prongs and pieces. And then sometimes it's just somebody has an idea and say, okay, let's try it, you know, and I like that we can do that. So.
I'll give a specific example. This popped in my head is about a year ago, I think it was, or maybe it was last summer, we did a mental health workshop, and we thought, you know, this is in the news, it's a need, there's this huge, and we had 2 people come, and those 2 people were super grateful for it. They, you know, said, please keep doing this, you know, and that was an example. Then we ended up partnering, we did a couple more since then, but we partnered with the city manager's office, and then we did, well, how can we get people? And then Joe Simidian's office reached out about they've been doing these Narcan trainings.
Yeah.
So then we kind of okay, we'll try that. And we said, well, we didn't have that many people come. So with the help of them marketing through their resources and then tying it into come get a free Narcan kit, but there was an educational component at the beginning as well. And we got like 60 or 70 people for that. So sometimes it's, yeah, who do we have to grab and partner with and help market to get there and add to it so people would come, kind of thing. So that was a good example, I think, how we got it out there. And then the people that came said, are you going to do this again? Because we'll tell our friends. And so we're hoping to do it again sometime.
So 2 detailed questions. I'll start with probably the easier one. When you look at summer break, winter break, spring break, I'm assuming that there's certain trends that show up in terms of when most obvious to host events or not. Like, is there an order to it? Like spring break's only a week, so we can disregard that. But maybe winter breaks more of an option, and then in the summer, people may or may not be in town, so that's a kind of a third choice.
I think, well, during the summer, I think there's a higher expectation for more programs to be happening during for library events, because there just seems to be just it's a more relaxed family time, you know, that there's less constraints, maybe, you know, there's camp, there's maybe not homework, and there's maybe not the same kind of like sports activities like in the evenings and things. People feel like a little bit more free. So we want to make sure that we have a still bevy of programs, especially in the summer. regarding winter during the breaks, there are a lot of families who are looking and do rely on the library for those camp experiences. That's what that's what we learned last summer particularly, is that a lot of families can't afford camp necessarily, or they have their nannies or their caregivers, like, the family caregivers, but they're looking for those activities to be able to plan kind of consistently, like every Friday we'll be going to the library and doing this. And on Tuesdays, we'll be going to the library and doing this. So we are trying to meet the need over the summer for that. During, like I just said, the spring break kind of was an anomaly this year. I don't know if that was just it's happening or we're not sure. Winter break, we definitely do try to plan a couple special events during that time to make it feel more seasonal and celebrational for the families, and bring in something that will feel, you know, add to the break for the children and families who don't go away or don't do things. And those can be for multiple reasons. People, parents are working, they have busy lives, people are short on time, but there's also a large contingency of families who can't afford things or do things. Major museums are farther away. It's harder to get to things. So we want to make sure that we're offering some things in the community that would be special events, or to the community that would be special events that would be meaningful and a little bit extra special, so that families do see the library as a central spot for them in terms of their entertainment, but also educational needs.
I think that makes sense. And my other question is, I understand the need to sometimes have events which may have a low number of people, like the mental health example was a great one. I'm assuming those events typically are in certain categories. I would think mental health, health and wellness, maybe environmentalism, book clubs, are there certain kind of topics where that's the sort of programming you would do, like you would make it a priority, even though there might be only a few people attending?
I know for youth, yes, most definitely.
And for adult, yeah, too. Sometimes the program needs a little time for word of mouth to get out there. So we talk with our programming librarians. They have their ear to the ground. They're talking with presenters. They're looking at other libraries around the country to see what kind of programs they have. So if they're usually the ones that will say to us, give it time. We feel this is good, give it time. And sometimes that's what it takes. It takes 4 or 5 times at the same program
Sessions.
or type of programming for it to get off the ground.
What do the statistics look like on the number of items checked out per year for older children versus teens?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Don't know off the top of my head either, but I can say that that the teens are reading online and reading physical materials. So the physical materials just have a nice turnover rate. So we haven't seen drop off in the teens. We've just seen an increase in their electronic and digital reading, but we haven't seen a decrease in the physical materials going out. Don't think with the turnover rate, I'm not seeing that.
And adults are the same, a big increase in electronic usage all the time.
Is there any sort of step function as they leave children's and enter teens and then young adult?
Sorry, say that again.
Is there any sort of step function, discontinuity?
Like a tipping point or an
Oh.
obvious trend?
No,
Is there a way you can even
Not
tell
to-
that? Like, do kids get their own library cards? My kids.
So eliminate the smallest children's because their data will be biased because of adult intervention, and then look at older children, compare them to teens, and basically run a sliding filter across it.
Hmm.
And look, you want to average a few years to get decent statistics, and then look and see whether you have any discontinuity between the populations. And ideally, track individual users and look at the ratio of how many items they checked out as children versus how many the same person checked out as teenagers, so that you're compensating for people who read a lot and people who don't read a lot through the library. look for the change in that curve. So normalize it per person and then combine all of the data together to see, because you've mentioned concerns about teen programming, and there are various reasons to be worried about that. But another thing that's going on at that age is they're moving from one very large room in the library with a lot of very comforting things, you know, everything from the statue where you rub the nose to this lower level of shelves, lots of very friendly materials. Transitioning to teens means, you know, physically moving to a different area, stepping into a new reading regime, and having a lot less proactive adult intervention. Some children probably start making that journey earlier and even are going out into the adult collections quite early and using them in parallel, but others, it's an easy place to lose them because they leave children's and they don't quite connect with something else. Do we have any bridge programs, for example, programming specifically designed for the youngest of teens?
We have what we could call tween programming. We don't call it tween for them because it's not a certainly it's not
Yeah.
a word, but we do have and mostly that centers around technology and gaming program, and then arts programming. So yeah, and we do 5th grade class visits. So to encourage continuation summer reading as they transition to middle school. So the thing is, it's sort of more societal in terms of also to what happens, their library usage changes because also their schooling and expectations around schooling are changing as well. So that's also, and the school libraries begin to play a larger role, especially middle school and high school then. So we're in some ways, in Mountain View at least, more supplemental to the school libraries, where the elementary schools we're in tandem and we actually more robust. The school libraries for the high schoolers, they end up playing a more active role in the reading lives of the general, just the children who may have been coming when they were younger have kind of transitioned to their school libraries then as they get older. So, but it is a good question. So we can take a look at that. But the bridge programming is more a presentation about trying to transition and help the children understand that all the library space is for them. That's the, you know, as it is for everybody, anytime they come. So, but the children are more used to coming to the children's room, right? So we're trying to do some programming things, generational programming. We've had some displays to kind of say, if you go up, you know, these are the books that are upstairs, but you could bring them down, things like that. We've had more displays on that. We do have the grade list that we do 6th and 7th grade, and the librarians would like to do another 8th grade list this year to sort of encourage more different reading for that middle grade where maybe you're concerned about the drop off. So we are looking at a few things, maybe not in programming, but tweaking the environment to support them. So to help. Thank you. You're welcome.
Other questions? Or comments? Public comment. Would any member of the public on the line? Oh,
Yeah, do you want to talk about
oh, sorry. Never mind.
I'm here to just speak really briefly about the bookmobile service as one of our major programs. I'm sure you're all aware that we got a new bookmobile and it started going out on the road in January. And we've been really thrilled with what we've seen so far from the community. I'll tell you about it briefly, just in case you're not aware, but rather than going onto the bookmobile, like the old one where you can go inside and browse the books, we bring the books off of the bookmobile now. It's a smaller vehicle. So we put all the cards on the outside and set up a table and a canopy, and it's very welcoming and it's right there and everyone can see it. We think this has been really great for engagement with the community. So just some numbers since we started in January through April. We've circulated 3,228 items off the bookmobiles. This is through the end of April. This is, I'm guessing this is probably a 4 times as much as we used to circulate in the same amount of time off the old bookmobile. Like I was just seeing a lot more people just coming to look at the books, not necessarily check out the books, mostly because it's a lot of kids, and a lot of kids come, they look at the books, but they don't have their library card or for whatever reason. But we have over 4,000 people have just engaged with the bookmobile since April. And we made 150 new library cards while on the road. And we now also do mini story times in the park. And we've had 164 people attend those over the 4 months. It's like 3.5 months. So numbers are one thing, but I wanted to kind of tell you a few anecdotes that kind of highlight what this means to people. When we were at one of these little park story times, saying hello to people, more than one person has told us, oh, we go to all of them. Like they go to every park and they follow us around. And we thought we were going into the community to reach you who live in the neighborhood. But now there are people driving around Mountain View following us to every park. At the same time, at the same exact park, there's somebody where you say, all right, story time begins in 5 minutes. We're going to gather around. And they say, what's a story time? They don't know the first thing. They don't know about the library. They don't know about the way we, advocate for literacy for early literacy. So to me, I feel like that's a perfect, story of how we're reaching these two different groups. Got the super users and the people who've never heard of us before. Similarly, we went to a Castro School open house, and so we sat there, and all the parents would walk by, and we had some people say, "Oh, it's the bookmobile. I've got my library card here. Oh, in fact, I have some returns. Can I just give them to you now, like in my backpack?" And then there are other people who have never heard of the library and they don't know what we are. And I had a Spanish-speaking colleague who really worked that evening, and she worked for 2 hours straight telling people about library services in Spanish. And people, she said to me that people were hesitant because once they heard that it was free, they got suspicious, right? They were suspicious that, you must want something from me or whatever. She worked overtime trying to convince them, and no, it's really free. And it's really, we're just here for the good of the community. And we were able to do like 5 new library cards that evening. So that's, for me, that's, I think speaks to the great success of the bookmobile program. And I find it's really inspiring to be a part of. So going forward, I wanted to talk about what we have planned for the summer. The schools closed during the summer, so that's 9 of our stops just gone right there. So we're trying to look for other things to take the places of the schools. And there's a few considerations. One is the weather. Now that we're outside, we have to worry about the weather. And before it was rain, we did have to cancel stops because of rain, and in the summer it's heat. So we're trying to avoid going out in the heat of the afternoon now. And if we do go out in the afternoon, we'll try to get an indoor location. So we've worked with partners. We wanted to catch the school kids though. So we're working with Parks and Rec to meet them at the end of their summer camp day. During pickup time, we're working with the Mistral School, who's doing a school lunch pickup, where they have the free lunch program. So we're going to be there once a week. And we are trying something new with an apartment complex that that is for the low income. They have a large number of low income units at this apartment complex, but also a family area and a senior building. So we're going to see if that works out for us to catch a larger kind of cross section of the community in one apartment complex. And like Tari said, we're gonna try that STEAM activities in the park, which I think is really exciting, to bring like more learning into the community. So that's what we've got going for the summer. Yeah.
So I like the new plans that you mentioned, but just so that I understand a bit better. In terms of maximizing potential turnout, are there certain parks, certain other venues, certain days, certain times that work best for the bookmobile?
Yeah.
And I will also add a tongue-in-cheek suggestion. I live near Ranksdorf Park, so that's a great place.
That's where we're going for the summer camp pickup. That's where all the parks are, camps are. But in terms of which parks we choose, the parks we go to now, actually were chosen by a pretty in-depth, research into the demographics. So we were able to get a hold of a really, robust data set that's available to California libraries. And we could look into things like, of course, income levels in a particular zip code, or even like smaller than a zip code area, like like a few blocks.
Can you get a block breakdown?
It's like a few blocks breakdown.
Is this census data or something else?
It's both. It's, I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know it came from both census and, some other national survey.
Okay.
And we looked at a number of cars in the neighborhood, right? If you don't have that many cars, then, we want to go to you. Number of families with children, number of seniors, number of people who work more than one job. So those are the things that we're looking at, because these people need more help getting library services.
Sure.
They don't have the time or the ability to get to the library. So we looked at a lot of different parks around the city, and we chose 4 just to start with. We're like this, we're trying this out for new, and we don't even know if anyone's going to show up at the park at all. So we chose 4 parks that were in these areas that that met the criteria. For the summer, we're adding 3 more parks for the STEAM activities, and those parks we chose as part of the school site. So there are, so some schools have parks like right next to them. And because we're not going to the schools and these are sort of educational activities, we wanted to kind of, in the mindset of people, say that these are the STEAM parks. So we're going to 3 of those parks for the STEAM program.
Great. And then this is more of a recommendation for the school year, but bear with me. Have you thought of potentially partnering with daycares?
We have a long, pre-COVID, we used to go to different daycares, and preschools. One of the issues is that if there's a bit of inequity in there, in that there are so many daycares and preschools that, and we could only get to 4 of them. And then, it's inherently unequal.
Okay.
So we have to figure out a way to reach that demographic in a way that, you know, that creates more equity.
Okay.
But it's a good, I mean, I'd love to reach that demographic.
Got it.
I just want to say I appreciate the bookmobile. That's my introduction to the library when I moved here 15 years ago. So. Okay. Yeah, any last questions or comments? Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? So please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Who's on the line? Oh,
On the line then.
Okay.
no further. We'll move on to section 7, unfinished business. Reference and information services policy. We discussed at the last board meeting and was revised. Introduction needed.
Do you want to introduce? Yeah, sure. I just, I think we put in all of the edits. Thank you very much for those edits. It's made it a stronger document. I hope you've had a chance to look at it, and if you're satisfied, then that would be great.
I have a small number of comments.
Okay.
Under policy, this is only an issue about streamlining the text, so you should feel free to ignore it if you don't agree with it. But I did find the revised sentence about when the library was available to be quite long. In the first paragraph, when we say library staff provides assistance through the use of print, non-print, and electronic resources when the library is open to the public via telephone, online, or in person, and also online when the library is closed. It's a bit of a mouthful. And I wondered if we could instead adjust the end to say when the library is open to the public via telephone or in person and online 24/7.
Just repeat that for me again. When the library is open to the public,
Via telephone or in person, and online 24/7.
Rather than repeating all the way.
okay, I got it.
Just to make it less of a mouthful.
Okay,
And with regards to the next two paragraphs, I very much like the sentiment still, and the fact that it explicitly calls out a number of protected classes. But this is really about reference services. So I'm not sure, I'm curious about why the freedom to read statement is being invoked. Because to my reading, the issue that is really about access to materials and written materials. And therefore it's more relevant to the library mission as a whole, but perhaps less directed at reference services issues versus the Board of Rights, which has a number of language components which explicitly tie into reference services. So
it's more of a, what's the word? It's more of a habit that every time we invoke the Library Association Bill of Rights, we pretty much always add the freedom to read statement. They just go together. We just
like peanut butter and jelly.
kind of, so we'd like to keep it in there, if that's okay.
And I very much like keeping it, them both as attachments, because I think it's a way to get people's eyes onto them and connect them.
Yeah.
And it's also just in general, good public policy to be promoting.
But it doesn't necessarily connect to references. In my mind, it connects more to the underlying ideals of the library,
I understand.
i.e. the why you want to do this. And it speaks to the desire for staff to do this, not because there's a rule somewhere, but to a genuine desire to make as much information as possible available freely to as many members of the community as possible. And I wondered if you might want to say that.
I think keeping it general like that, because it's the Library Bill of Rights is kind of the core that all libraries refer to, so we want to have that highlighted.
Well, definitely want the Bill of Rights. I mean, I agree, and I think the Bill of Rights is very relevant for reference services. The current statement, I mean, as I read the third paragraph, if I'm unconnected to the library, I would not know why I was reading that statement. And so if you don't wish to go into that, there would be two things I would suggest. One is to absolutely not use the abbreviation for the American Library Association before using the full title, because ALA will mean nothing to a large number of readers who are not familiar already with the association. But also citing the Bill of Rights at the end of the second sentence, it's difficult to assign a meaning to that unless you've already become familiar with the Bill of Rights and you see the intrinsic connection between open access and freedom to read and what is there. And if you already made that connection, you don't need to read this statement because you're already on board with that statement. But if you are not yet familiar with the Bill of Rights, this will not get you there.
Well, we do add it, it's a clickable link at the end. It's on the website, so that when you get to the end of this document, you can actually click it
Yes.
and read it if you'd like to do that. We put both of them up there, both the American Library Association Bill of Rights and the Freedom to Read statement.
But are we citing these to inspire people to learn more about the ALA documents and what they do? Or
I mean, that
simply,
that could be it could be an offshoot of what happens, that people who don't know about it read it here for the first time. But we do, because this is a reference and information services policy, we do want people to know that we follow the American Association Libraries Bill of Rights and the Freedom to Read Act. I mean, we intentionally have it in there because we want them to know that this is important to us.
okay,
And I think I guess
that's what you just said. That makes a difference when I hear that.
Okay.
I think that is why this is here, and that matters more to me than other things. So that is a great thing. Yeah, I hope there's a way to do that, but yeah, so at a minimum, if we can, in fact, remove the abbreviation, because there's nowhere else in which the ALA is mentioned in the policy. In the attachment, it's spelled out explicitly, and then it's only these two references in the second and third paragraphs. So I think we could just avoid the abbreviation
Okay.
for simplicity. And then we could even combine those two together. You know, the first sentence spells out all of the protected classes. And then replacing the parenthesized just statement, ALA Library Book of Bill of Rights, we could say this is in accordance with the principles set forth in the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights and Freedom to Read statement. Because by putting them together in the same paragraph, I think we might explicitly tie those two documents to the statement you've made initially, that services are available to all customers regardless of their class, which makes it a little easier to see that that's why they're being brought up. They matter because of that. A little bit like having a very punchy beginning to the Declaration of Independence.
Okay.
So my suggestion, which you're free to accept or ignore, would be to tie them together like that.
Okay.
And then finally, an excessively minor point under guidelines. In, let's see, what is now bullet point 3, to assist customers in locating any reading materials in their areas of interest. Could we strike the word reading? Because there are now a lot of materials in the library which are not meant to be read, but to access via other means.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the changes which we suggested last month. I appreciate that.
Okay.
on the revised document. Nicole, would you like them to bring it back for,
I can do that.
would you be okay
I would be happy either way,
to approve it?
Yeah.
With them having heard that input.
whatever's easier. If you prefer to send it back, we'll be happy to do that, but I'm also happy to vote now if that
So
would streamline
we
things.
get it clear, so we all, and then you all can decide if you wanted to come back. So when the library's open to the public via telephone, comma,
In person.
Or online 24/7.
24/7. And then
And online 24/7.
and online 24/7. And then the second paragraph, we would strike ALA Library Bill of Rights, that's in parentheses, and just continue that with the third paragraph, the library provides reference services in accordance with the principles. So just those changes.
And then the reading.
And then the
And then
word
the
reading
reading,
in the third
strike
bullet
reading.
point under title.
So if you guys are comfortable with approving it with those changes, between all of us, we'll make sure the changes are. But if you want it to come back next time, that's fine too.
Also, we also need to do public comment.
Yeah.
Public comment. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on an item on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. No comment, okay. Given everybody seems okay with that,
I will make a motion to approve the policy with the changes mentioned. A second.
Okay, Chair Eric Nerlich,
approved.
Vice Chair Kristen Nagaki. Yes. Board Member Kuldeep Bambasta,
Approved.
Board Member Sharon Sue.
Yes.
Board Member Hiccup.
With pleasure.
Okay. Beyond. No new business this month. We'll move on to the library director's report. Tracy.
All right, so I won't go over what was in the packet, but you saw there were some photos of the new library bookmobile at several of the events. And all the activities. So yesterday, the Mountain View Fire Department had their 150th anniversary downtown. It was a huge attended event, very fun event. Our librarians put together book displays inside the library to help spread the word about the fire department. And then our history center has a couple cool relics. A fire helmet from 1980s is in there. So we did our best to kind of get the community excited for that. And then the Friends had a book sale this weekend, and yesterday it was rocking in there. So I can't wait to see the numbers from the Friends. I checked in on them yesterday a few times, so they were excited. And then a couple of us were Renee, myself, Melvin, a couple other staff attended the Chinese Language Academy. It was just last week. And we talked about the library, the makeup of just touch to highlight what the library board does, what the Friends do. And then we gave a tour of the library. We got nice mugs for them. So we did that outreach, and it was I think it's second year that we've done it here. And then we were at the senior resource fair recently talking about the library resources. Renee touched upon the bookmobile schedule for summer, and then we're planning summer reading, and our kickoff event is Saturday, June 1st. The mayor's going to kick us off into summer reading. She'll be there. So we're excited about that event coming up. And then many of us were at Leadership Mountain View, had their graduation today. Right before this, Renee team graduated from Leadership Mountain View, as well as two of our other staff and several city staff. So that was a great program where they collaborate with other organizations and companies in Mountain View, and it's been around for many years. So we're excited. We had 3 staff from the library attending that. And then lastly, just so I don't forget, it'll come up in agenda setting, but I need a recent photo of the board for the celebration of service event. So if you guys are okay with taking your photo after, in September, the city clerk's office does a celebration of service for all the boards and commissions. City council's there. It's they have hors d'oeuvres and stuff. I don't know the location yet, but they're already planning it and said, please get a photo of your board before. Some of the boards don't meet in the summer, so they're trying to get this done. So we can postpone and do it in June if everyone's going to be here in June, but I know everyone's here tonight, so.
What,
Remind me so we don't forget.
what date in September has been considered?
I don't think they've set even a tentative. Let me see if I have a tentative.
Should be a Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't have a whole date yet for it.
Okay, I may be out of town most of September.
Okay.
I'll be in town, obviously I'm in town right now, and I'll be in town in June.
So take our photos then.
You're all here. I didn't know. Yeah, I don't have a date yet.
Any questions? Tracy, about the report?
I really wanted to go to the plan exchange and I couldn't go, and I was sad, but I'm so glad that you have a picture here.
Yeah, the Plan Exchange is, yeah, one of those programs that people love.
I wish you guys would do it more often. It's only once a year.
I know. I think it's one of those.
Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise a hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Nope. Okay, then I guess we're gonna move on to agenda setting.
Right, so for June, some of the things are fiscal year and some are calendar year. So what's fiscal year is the boards and commissions work plans. The current work plan is on the board website to take a look at it, but I'll bring a draft for you all to talk about and set your work plan, and then we plan the meetings for the fiscal year topics and so forth. So we'll bring that in June. And then we're hoping to have a presentation in June that will cover kind of some unique things about the library and different roles, because out in library staff know the different roles in the library, but when you talk to people out in the community, they think everyone who works in a library is a librarian. Or you watch a movie, there's a mystery show I love, and the head person is a librarian, and there's different roles in the library. So we're gonna kind of just talk about that because it's a topic we haven't done before, and then talk about some of our upcoming presentations. I mentioned probably sometime in the fall to do the book challenge banning issues that are happening nationwide, et cetera. We'll do that. And then July and August are typically end of the year where we put a fiscal year presentation together that we send out to the community and to the city council. We did it last year, just kind of our significant accomplishments and some of our statistics and so forth. But I did want to ask the board, some of the boards don't meet in the summer. We already have our meeting schedule, so I wanted to find out, to make sure we have quorum for the June and July August meetings. Currently, we are set to meet June 17th. And then
Quorum is 3, or what's the policy?
3.
I will not be available July 15th.
Okay.
I'll also not be available July
I
15th.
see my
Okay.
calendar.
July.
Be here June 17th.
Okay.
17th, and then it was 15th.
July 15th.
All right, let me see, it's June 17th first.
I think Joy sent out calendar invites just to.
She did.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I'm around on June 17th, and then July 15. July 15, I'm around as well.
I'm a maybe for July 15th.
So it's possible we may not have a quorum for July 15th, and we could decide in June. We could decide to cancel if, even if, because you're a small group, even if 2 are gone, you have a quorum, but you can, decide, and then we can schedule whatever we were planning for July to do August. you can decide now or wait till June, about the July meeting.
Yeah, I'll be in Europe, so
Yeah.
this meeting would be at like 4 in the morning.
Right.
I'm not gonna do it.
With the people who are able to make it, do they feel comfortable?
Kristen said maybe, so.
There's certain conditions, right? You have to be, I think you've told me in the past, right? If you're in a remote location, you
can't
can't
call.
be in a place that's public, in person, you have to sign up, et cetera. So
Right.
you have to meet all those conditions.
Yeah.
Right? So when you say maybe, there's certain steps to be.
Yeah.
Considered.
I guess when will you know more about your plans for July? Since you're the quorum decider.
Well, you know, by the June meeting?
I will know by then, yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about it in June.
I will not be at the June meeting.
Oh,
I can let you guys know.
Yeah, you can send Joy and I. Well,
Okay.
no.
Sorry.
telephone. That's something to satisfy the burnout.
Does it look like, does it look like July would have a number of significant
Significant topics.
topics?
Yeah,
Because if you could push it to August.
yeah, we could just plan on that and doing it in August. Let me pull up what I have.
It might make things a bit more efficient that way. Okay.
Yeah. And I know we don't have a policy, like a time sensitive thing.
So I would advocate for the August meeting and taking on July in August if everyone feels comfortable with that.
I'm good with that too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so far on my draft calendar, July is, yeah, we could squeeze it all to August and just plan to cancel July's meeting.
Nicole, did you want to share any thoughts that you have?
I was trying to figure out a way to get an extra presentation from Mark about the back end of the database. But I can be crushed. I'll be happy either way. If we have a quorum and coverage, that's great. And if it looks too complicated, that is also fine.
It seems like, yeah, we're leaning towards, let's cancel July.
Cancel July.
Yeah.
And then is everyone for August 19th is what we have for
August 19th, I will be. Lester.
Used to be past
Yeah, I think
Labor
of,
Day,
no,
now it's way before.
It is, yeah. I'll be here.
Okay. And then September, usually the friends come and give a presentation on how they're doing in September. And it's either September or October, the celebration of service. September. Yeah, so I'll, as soon as I know, we'll pass it on. I think they're still planning it, because the city council doesn't meet in July. July and August.
last year it was September 19th, Tuesday.
You presented.
Yes. Cause I had to be there.
So in September, October, I may be out of town for both September 16th and potentially October 21st. And it likely would be impractical to be in a public place, et cetera, to formally attend the meetings. So I don't know if that's an issue just yet. It's a few months out, we can discuss. But am I permitted potentially to absences?
There is a limit of absences in a year. I can't remember. We'll have to look if it's calendar year or fiscal year.
Yeah, I thought the number was 3, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can be
but
sure
yeah,
too.
we should discuss that further. My plans haven't been set,
Yeah.
but we should discuss that further so I can think appropriately.
Okay. So Joy said that, yeah, I thought it was 3 consecutive, but if you're here in August and then,
I'll be here in August for
Yeah.
sure. So,
okay, it should be.
Great.
Okay. Well, check the public. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item on the agenda? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. The library director will display the timer on the screen. Okay. Be good to, any last comments? No more comments? Then this meeting is adjourned at 8:26 p.m. The next library board meeting will be held on Monday, June 17th at 7 p.m.
To have some use out of it.
Very satisfying.